Question: critically discuss the realist approaches to international relations. Realism is one of the prominent theoretical approaches in the field of international relations. It provides a framework for analyzing the behavior of states and understanding the dynamics of the international system. While realism has its strengths, it also faces criticism and limitations. Let's critically discuss the realist approaches to international relations. 1. Emphasis on power and self-interest. Realism places a significant emphasis on power and the pursuit of self-interest by states. Realists argue that states are the primary actors in the international system and their behavior is driven by the quest for power and security. Critics argue that this narrow focus neglects other important factors such as ideology, norms, and domestic politics, which can influence state behavior. 2. State-centric perspective. Realism is often accused of being too state-centric, ignoring the role of non-state actors such as international organizations, non-governmental organizations, and transnational corporations. In today's interconnected world, non-state actors play a crucial role in shaping international outcomes, and their exclusion from realist analysis limits its explanatory power. 3. Oversimplified view of power. Realism tends to oversimplify power as a purely material concept, focusing primarily on military capabilities and economic resources. Critics argue that this neglects the significance of non-material sources of power, such as cultural influence, diplomacy, and soft power. Moreover, the complex nature of power dynamics, including the role of asymmetric power relations, is often overlooked in realist analyses. 4. Static view of the international system. Realism assumes a relatively static view of the international system, with states primarily concerned about their relative power positions. Critics argue that this static view fails to capture the dynamics of the international system, including the changing nature of power, the rise of non-traditional security threats, and the increasing interdependence among states. 5. Lack of moral considerations. Realism is often criticized for its amorality or even immorality. Realist theorists argue that states should prioritize their own national interests and survival, even if it means sacrificing the interests of others. Critics argue that this approach neglects ethical considerations and the potential for cooperative behavior and moral action in international relations. 6. Limited scope in explaining cooperation. Realism tends to downplay the possibilities for cooperation and interdependence among states. Its focus on self-interest and anarchy leads to a pessimistic view of international relations, where cooperation is seen as rare and unstable. Critics argue that this ignores the numerous instances of successful cooperation and the role of institutions in facilitating collective action. 7. Neglect of social and cultural factors. Realism tends to downplay the influence of social and cultural factors on state behavior. It assumes a universal pursuit of power and security without adequately considering how social norms, values, and identities shape state actions. Cultural differences and historical contexts can significantly impact state behavior, and neglecting these factors limits the explanatory power of realism. 8. Lack of attention to non-traditional security challenges. Realism's focus on military power and traditional security threats often overlooks non-traditional security challenges, such as climate change, pandemics, and terrorism. These challenges require collective action and cooperation among states, which realism may not adequately account for in its analysis. 9. Oversimplified view of state interests. Realism assumes that states have clear and coherent interests that drive their behavior. However, in reality, state interests are often diverse and multifaceted, involving various domestic, economic, and ideological considerations. Realism's simplification of state interests can result in an oversimplified understanding of state behavior. 10. Limited scope for change and progress. Realism tends to portray the international system as static and resistant to change. It assumes that states will always prioritize their own security and power, leading to a pessimistic view of international relations. This perspective overlooks instances of significant shifts in global politics, such as the spread of democracy, the establishment of international norms, and the growth of regional integration. 11. Neglect of interdependence and globalization. Realism's focus on states as autonomous actors often neglects the increasing interdependence and globalization of the world. Economic, technological, and social interconnections have blurred traditional notions of state sovereignty and shaped state behavior. Realism's emphasis on self-interest and anarchy may not fully capture the complex interplay of actors and forces in the globalized world. 12. Lack of policy prescriptions. Realism's descriptive nature limits its ability to provide practical policy recommendations. While realist analysis can explain state behavior and power dynamics, it may struggle to offer guidance on how to manage or resolve conflicts, promote cooperation, or address global challenges. Realism's narrow focus on power dynamics can hinder the development of comprehensive policy approaches. Despite these criticisms, realism continues to be influential in the study of international relations. It offers valuable insights into power dynamics, state behavior, and security concerns. However, to gain a comprehensive understanding of international relations, it is necessary to complement realist approaches with other theoretical perspectives that account for the broader range of factors and actors shaping global politics.